The college football experience, Utah Utes 2024 season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, Underdog Fantasy is giving away $15 million in Best Ball Mania 5. Sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Yes, they do have college football. Yes, they do have college basketball. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm has the best AI picks and projections in their college football product. Well, it's about to drop. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
This is Mike Leach, head football coach at Mississippi State, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Welcome to the college football experience, Utah Utes 2024 season preview. Oh boy, I mean, one of my favorite programs, I would say, over the past 20 years, probably been these Utah Utes. Excited to talk about them. And yeah, I mean, the dawn of a new day for them because they've been on in all these conferences, right? WAC, Mountain West, Pac-12, and now it's a day of a new age as they jump into the Big 12, and we get the Holy War back, which I'm super excited about. BYU and Utah. I know BYU was super pissed that Utah is joining their conference, right? BYU fans, so what the fuck's going on here? But look,
come on, you scared?
College football is better when your hated schools are going toe to toe with conference games on the line. All right, like West Virginia, Pitt still playing, Colorado, Nebraska still playing, but it doesn't pack as much of a punch because you can't say like it's like an extra fuck you if you can conference and ruin their season in a way.
Certainly.
But anyway, if you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, that's fair too. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dad, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm probably drinking too much and celebrating too much and not sleeping. Would have killed a normal man, but no, that's gone. The medical advice I got from that was like being hit by lightning. Pretend it never happened and get on with your life.
Let's go. I think the Big 12 is the most exciting power conference we got going this year. I mean, I'll be honest. I think it's the SEC is going to be exciting too. The ACC is going to be exciting. I think the Big Ten's a snoozer out of all of them, but even that could be exciting.
Yeah, Big 12 is the most wide open.
Yeah, I mean, you can make a case for every damn team in the conference.
But you know who the favorite is?
It's them Utah Utes, yes.
That's
and we are joined by my co-host, the DFS god himself. Yes, we will have DFS episodes dropping in the fall and some best ball with Underdog Fantasy coming soon. Love to see college football back with best ball. But give it up for the rooftop IPA drinking, homebrew making, tobacco road living, free lot giving, former Herndon Basketball League MVP. Give it up for NC Nick in the place to be.
There we go. What's going on, man?
I mean, the Utah Utes. Cam Rising. Who's older? NC Nick. Scott Mitchell, former Utah Ute quarterback, or Cam Rising? Who's older?
I don't know, but it's close. Cam Rising's been around a bit, hasn't he?
He has been around. And look, what is it? 7? And he could come back next year.
Wow.
He said at media days in Vegas, he said, I'm the plan is to not come back next year. Why wouldn't you if they're offering you a shit ton of money?
I mean, if he has a really good year, the pros might be offering him a shit ton of money also.
I don't know. He's past his prime. So, I mean, I feel like he's like a 6th round pick right now because
at this point, just Van Wilder it, right?
Why not make like $1 million and go back for a year? I would. I honestly would. Like you're only that age. Well, not once, 7 times apparently, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, if people forget, Cam Rising did not play at all last year. Leading up to the season, it was he's questionable for week 1. He might play. Then no, maybe week 2. Turns out he never stepped foot on the football field with a helmet on. So obviously he was medical redshirted. So he still has a lot of time left.
Well, and wait a sec. We have that. You just sparked like my brain's going crazy here with my ADD. First off, Utah, and I love Kyle Whittingham. I really do. I think he's fantastic. They've always done this game with Cam Rising, where you thought he was going to play. They probably knew he was out for the season back in like.
They had to know, right? They had
to know. Do you remember a couple years ago? They were playing at Washington State on Thursday night, and we didn't even know he was injured. He didn't get injured the game before, right? So I put a big wager down on Utah,
right? Yep,
to destroy, dude, and he just doesn't play, like just a scratch. I mean,
maybe that was the injury. Maybe he got scratched. I don't know.
Well, knowing Cam Rising, and look, I think he's a good quarterback. Seems like a hell of a good guy. I know he's out here. He's from not far from where I live right now, but he's definitely a little fragile. I mean, they run him a lot too, though. To be fair, I mean, he did have like 500 yards rushing both years he was the starting quarterback there, but that's his game. However, that's got to be a little concerning.
I mean, he started 13 games in 21 and 22. So was he banged up in a couple of those games? Yes.
No. In 21, he only started 11. 21, he started 11. He started 13 in 22.
All right. Well, I guess Sports Reference is incorrect. Can't trust the internet. But no, to your point, I mean, he's always, he's injury prone. I think that's safe to say. With him at the helm, a healthy Cam Rising's a hell of a player. He's a winner. He plays winning football. He's dual threat. His completion percentage is like 65%. So if he's healthy, Utah is just, it takes them to a whole nother level, because you're going to get good line play. You're going to get a strong defense. The ground game is probably going to be pretty good. If he's healthy, he just opens up that offense in ways that they couldn't do last year.
Yeah, and I have this question. Besides, Utah, I think, had established itself as the most physical team in the Pac-12 over the past decade, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oregon under Lanning, you could say, but like prior to that, some of their previous coaches, they were not. It was always Utah to me.
Agreed.
But the Big 12, Kansas State's epitome of a physical football team is Kansas State. You might be able to say a few others like Iowa State or BYU has been physical before, not necessarily last season. Cincinnati before, not last season. Where do they fall as far as like the most you think they're the most physical team in the conference?
Yeah, I think the Big 12 does play a different brand of football compared to the Pac-12. But I don't think anybody's going to out physical Utah in their new league. I mean, we all know last year
could be K-State.
Yeah, they can go. They can battle with them. They can bang with them. But we know last year the newcomers of the Big 12 did not fare very well. UCF and BYU, Cincy, and Houston. That's not Utah. Utah's on another level. They're ready to go into this new conference and do well from the get-go.
Yeah, I'll talk more of that in a second, but I want to tell you folks that the college football experience Utah Utes episodes brought to you by Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Yes, we are part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network here on the college football experience. Make sure to check out this week's featured high heat podcast, the MLB Gambling Podcast, giving you all the picks you need to crush the rest of the MLB season as we inch closer to the postseason. Plus the college football experience. This very show you're listening to is knee deep in 134 team previews. YouTube.com/the college experience. Hop on over there, hit that like and subscribe button. Also, subscribe to the MLB Gambling Podcast wherever you get your podcasts, or grab the SGPN app, which is free to download in the App Store and Google Play Store. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride. Yeah, I mean, look, there's something to be said. Shout out to Neil in the chat. It says, "Pig Farmer, you."
He transferred.
He did. Well, I mean, Cam Rising was coming back, and he played good enough last season that I think schools wanted him. But the fact that he was their fourth string starting quarterback, like coming into the season. So if you didn't remember last season, Cam Rising was projected to start. Now, whether we knew that or not, but I can tell you this: the second string, about a week before the season starts, he tore his ACL, and he's out for the year. The third string was Nate Johnson, who struggled. They went back and forth with the third string and Bryson Barnes. One of my favorite things is the USC. First off, how excited is USC to get rid of Utah? Because
owned them,
dude. The game last season, one of my favorite games, I think, in the past 5 years. The amount of times Kyle Whittingham called quarterback power to the pig farmer, and USC looked like they just didn't want to tackle him, man. It just looked like they would use the running back as the lead blocker, and
that was one of Bryson Barnes' best game. I mean, not only did he rack up some nice rushing stats, but he also threw for 235 and 3 touchdowns.
Well, after like 20 quarterback powers, you go play action on that. Everybody's open.
Right,
USC's selling out.
I mean, they ran for 250 that game, so that tells you that the difference between those two teams: USC being soft and Utah just wanting to dominate the line of scrimmage and run the ball down their throat.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I know Whittingham, since he's been the head coach, he was in the Mountain West for a good amount of time. They entered, like, if you go to like 2016 or 17, because they had like 2 5-7 seasons as they entered the Pac-12, much like BYU, you said, or Cincinnati or Houston. But after that, they were rolling. But USC had like a 6-1 lead on them because they played a couple times, I think, in the Mountain West too.
Yeah.
And I want to say that Utah's like 7-1 in their last 8 against USC.
Woo!
Like something crazy like that. Because I know that the series is under the Whittingham era. It's dead even. Him and USC.
And that's crazy to think that Utah, who was in the Mountain West not that long ago, would be on the same level as such a storied program like USC, who I think you guys mentioned they have the most pros ever
drafted. Yeah.
So it's just crazy that he's been able to elevate Utah to that level.
Well, dude, and I want to say 4 straight against the Trojans. If I had to go off the top, I know 3 straight for sure the past 2 years. I want to say 4 straight, and it was the way they beat him down. Where are you at with Kyle Whittingham? I know they Morgan Scully's the coach in waiting. I hope, no disrespect to Morgan, but I hope Whittingham's there for like another 10 years because
I mean, he's 64, but he's a young 64. He doesn't look 64.
He will whoop your ass. You know what I mean? Kyle Whittingham, he's on like a fucking Harley.
He's one of the best coaches in the country. I mean,
yeah, and he's a 1 seed in the head coaching Royal Rumbles.
I wouldn't like to mess with him, but throw the COVID year out, and the last 5 years, they've won at least 8 games in the regular season every year, and have been double digits in 3 of those 5 years. If we could just talk about what they did last year, going 8-4 with all their problems
with the
at
4th string starting quarterback,
and how difficult their schedule was. Yeah, Kuithe, the tight end, also
like their best offensive weapon out for the year too. Yeah,
but so their schedule last year, they played Oregon and Washington, 2 teams that were good enough to be top 5 in the nation. Playoff teams. Obviously, Oregon just barely missed out. They played a ranked Arizona team on the road. They played at the time a ranked USC team on the road, a ranked Oregon State team on the road, and also teams like UCLA, Baylor, Florida. It's remarkable that they went 8-4 in the regular season with all the injuries they had.
Yeah, and he's 162-79 in 19 seasons as head coach. And get this, he was a DC before that. He has been with the Utah program since 1994. That's not far from Scott Mitchell's era. I feel like Mitchell left at like 89 or 90. Damn if Whittingham didn't come a couple years later. They've only had 2 losing seasons, and that was the first 2 years in the Pac-12 where they went 5-7, just barely missing out on going 6-6. They won the 2008 national championship. They have a claim to that. A publication did release that, and I will honor it on this very show because of all the cockanimi ones. How about Alabama finishing number 21 in the nation in 1942 and claiming a national championship?
You've done a deep dive on that. It's interesting to hear. I would never go that deep into to look all that stuff up, but I'm glad you did because it is interesting.
Oh, I mean, Texas loses to Notre Dame in 70 or 71. It's, number 1 in the nation against number 2. Texas undefeated, Notre Dame with 1 loss, right? Notre Dame beats Texas, I think like by a decent amount too. I think it was like 21-7 or something. Texas still claims the national championship. It's like, wait a second, you guys both have 1 loss and you played head to head. There's one team that's better than you. I don't know if you're switching gears a little bit. If you're watching on YouTube, you see that old throwback logo. Not sure how PC that is, but it's pretty fire. Get the fuck out of here. All right.
They
should own that. They should put that shit on the helmet. You're still called the Utes. Have pride in Native American culture. God damn it. All right. It's their fucking country. All right. And we should own that. We should own that as far as putting it on display that, reminding people that this is, Native American land. And this is history. Yes. And shout out to the Utes.
That's right. Amen.
Look, you see those teams in yellow there: Washington, Oregon, Boise State, Northwestern, Ohio State, and Penn State. I even think you should throw out Ohio State and Penn State, but I was going on a deep dive of Whittingham. That's the only teams he has losing records against. And the Northwestern one's a head scratcher. He's 0-2 against Northwestern in bowl games. But the other ones, like Boise was super legit in the Mountain West when they were playing in the Mountain West, right? So Boise got the best of them. Oregon, when they entered, and they've caught up to Oregon a little bit. Like over the past 5 years, they've been catching up to them, right? They beat them twice a couple years ago with Cristobal.
Yep.
In the same year. And same with Washington. They've been catching up a little bit. The Ohio State and Penn State games were Rose Bowl games recently. Now, one of those ones I want to say was the Ohio State game that Cam Rising got knocked out of. Cam Rising injured, that's why he missed the whole season last year.
Yeah, because he had such a great game against USC in the Pac-12 championship game, which Utah won, and then got hurt in the bowl game. So maybe players should sit out bowl games.
No, I disagree there. But dude, he's 16-7 against Big 12 teams, by the way, from last season. Like, obviously that number, if you add in Arizona State and Colorado, the number's way bigger. But I'm saying 16-7 versus, BYU, West Virginia, Baylor. There was another team in there that they played. I forget who. And how about he's 7-1 against your beloved ACC? His first year as a head coach. After that, he's 7-0 against the ACC.
Woo!
He's also 3-0 against Michigan. Holy fuck!
That's crazy.
Two of those in Ann Arbor, one of those in Salt Lake City, and one of those against Jim Harbaugh. So, I mean, dude,
That's why he's one of the best coaches in the country.
Yeah. Hold on. I want to read an ad, but I want to ask you that question there. Folks, I want to tell you the college football experience is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. And Underdog Fantasy just launched their Underdog Streaks. Yes, which you should check out. If you hit your first 2 pick'em entries, and then you go streaking. And if you go on an 11-0 run, you can win 100. Or I'm sorry, not 100, 1,000 times the amount of money you enter. I keep fucking that up. Plus Best Ball Mania is live with $15 million in prizes, folks. You can now use specials and boost on all flex entries too. So sign up. And when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Yes, they do have college football. Yes, they do have college basketball. And Craig Smith, I know he's got some stuff planned for this basketball season. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Game Time. Yes, Game Time is now the authorized ticket marketplace of the MLB. I know there's no Major League Baseball in Utah, but still, maybe you're gonna hop down to Arizona, check out a game. But also, Game Time's great with college football too. So if you're planning on going to Rice Eccles or Lavelle Edwards, which by the way, NC Nick, well, we should talk about that. Give me a minute again. I want to go down rabbit holes and next thing you know, I wouldn't be reading the ad. But look, prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the game. With killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. So what are you doing? Take that guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the redeeming code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, terms apply. Create that account, redeeming code CFBX for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, we're back on the college football experience. There's so much shit I want to talk about. First off, I mean, I think without a doubt, Utah has the best stadiums in college football per state.
Oh, I mean, it helps when you have a beautiful mountains as your backdrop for sure.
Yeah. I mean, dude, BYU, Utah, which I know they hate hearing that, but both are fucking amazing stadiums.
Great fans too.
Utah State is an amazing stadium.
Mm-hmm.
I even dig the ones down in Southern Utah. First off, Weber State's fun too. Yeah. And then, but the Southern Utah schools like Southern Utah and Dixie State have fire state. Like all of them are, and they have like you said, great fans. I know Utah fans hate BYU fans. BYU fans hate Utah fans, and that's part of
the fun.
Part of why that rivalry is awesome. But another point I was going to make before this. Do you think Kyle Whittingham might be the best coach in college football?
It's hard to argue. I mean, he doesn't have like national championships to
2008, a publication said he does.
I guess so.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's done this, in the Mountain West, and the fact that they came in and owned the Pac-12 basically, and you haven't seen very many of these teams come into a league and do that well. And we're talking about Utah. Utah football doesn't have that much of a past. I mean,
yeah,
what he's done with them is remarkable. So I think he's got to at least be in your top 5 or something. I mean, who else is better?
He's 1-0 against Harbaugh, 1-0 against Saban. Hey, Kirby Smart,
put the question this way.
On the schedule. Yeah.
Put the question this way: who else could have came into Utah and replicated what he's done? As good as Kirby Smart has done at Georgia, could he have done the same thing at Utah?
No fucking way, dude. No way. Like
maybe that's apples and oranges,
yeah.
But I just think
Smart's been incredible at Georgia. I'm not trying to shit on what he's done, but I'm just saying like Georgia always had the history and the talent there.
Right.
I don't know. It's just an incredible achievement what Kyle Whittingham's done. But what is the worst loss? This is a testament to how great he is. These are first off, normally you look for non-con games. I found 0 non-con games. He has 0 fucking non-con games that are embarrassing. Like a group of 5 beating them. All it is conference games when he was in his first couple of years.
Yeah, you got to go back a decade for all these losses here. So I mean, I guess all those to New Mexico aren't
Rocky
great,
Long though. Rocky Long had his number for a little bit there.
It's a different New Mexico squad. They were better than they are now. So I'd argue that there's almost no bad losses.
Yeah, I think Utah State's the only one that's got him like in the past 6 or 7 years, and that was, I believe that score was in overtime too, 27-20.
And they play in Logan again this year. Interesting.
Yes. Let's go. And then looking at the offense from a season ago with the pig farmer, Bryson Barnes. 98th in scoring offense per game in the country. 10th out of 12 teams. Remember, the Pac-12 actually had 12 teams. I love how now that's the minority. Like normally you think you're like, oh, this is the Big Ten. This is normally you're just like the number means nothing. No, the Pac-12 actually honored their actual amount of programs within their conference, and look what that got them. 10th in the Pac-12 last season in scoring per game. They were also second to last in offense in the Pac-12, 92nd overall. They were 117th in passing, dead last in the Pac-12.
Still won 8 games.
Unfucking believable, man. Unfucking believable. 33rd in rushing, third best in the Pac-12.
And obviously a healthy Cam Rising, and those numbers are going to improve greatly. Yes.
Well, even if it had been your second string quarterback, but the fourth string, I mean, unbelievable. But look, folks,
okay, go ahead.
I want to talk more about the Utah offense in a second here, but I want to make sure that the audience knows that the college football experience is brought to you by Rhythm. If you're not checking out the AI picks and props from Rhythm, then you're missing out. They just dominated the British Open, and their college football product is about to drop. You can even customize your own betting models easily using Rhythm's tools. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. We're also brought to you by Circa Survivor and Circa Millions. Yes, the Circa in Vegas. If you have not been, it's heaven. All right. That scene in Field of Dreams. Is this heaven? No, that was bullshit. This is heaven when you go to Circa in Vegas. You go to Stadium Swim. Oh man. If you like sports, I don't think there's a better place. Circa Sports is back with Circa Survivor and Circa Millions, giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes. Imagine the regret you'll have if you play in your office pool NFL Survivor and you win your office pool, but you just didn't throw the money down at Circa, because if you win Circas, you're a millionaire. So what are you doing, folks? If you don't, and by the way, if you don't have a trip booked yet for Vegas before football season, which, the ultimate contest weekend is a great weekend to go out. If so, you can hang with my pals, Stacking the Money Green and Ryan Real Money Kramer, and enjoy some of the open bar events at the greatest sportsbook in the world, August 22nd through August 24th. Use the promo code SGP15, by the way, to save you 15% off your hotel room at Circa for sign up weekend. Also, the thing is, you have to sign up in person at Circa between now and September 7th. You can use a proxy to play from anywhere, though. We even have a deal with footballcontestproxy.com to save you $50 with the promo code SGP. So check that out over at Circa. All right, we are back.
The point I was going to make is that if you go back to a healthy Cam Rising in 2022, Utah in the regular season, 7 of the 12 games they scored in the 40s. Which is night and day difference from last year with the backup quarterbacks. Just food for thought.
No, that's Andy Ludwig's a very good OC. Remember, he turned down the Notre Dame position to stay at Utah.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a testament to Kyle Whittingham. You got the offensive coordinator saying Notre Dame's one of like the top 10 winningest programs of all time. He says, you know what? No, I'm good.
He wasn't feeling the Catholic.
Maybe that played a factor. But either way, I mean, look, this offense, hilarious stats considering they won 8 games. 7 starters back. I know a lot of these guys were injured, and I'm going to use their back from 2 years ago. Cameron Rising, who's 37 fucking years old. But dude, that's another thing we should note though, is I can't help but notice last season what I thought were the best teams in the country, not necessarily the best playoff team or the teams that ended up in the 14 playoff. I personally think Oregon was better than some of the schools or some of the teams out there. And I also think Florida State was better than some of the teams that got in. The reason why I bring that up though, is because in my opinion, the 4 best teams, like I said, they were not the 4 teams in the playoffs, but they all had super senior quarterbacks, or I mean, Michigan would be the only one without it. You look at Oregon, Florida State, and Washington, they all had these old ass quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And Cam Rising fits that. So if you're going to follow that model,
yep.
I think it makes a lot of sense. Micah Bernard is back at the running back spot. He's good. Money Parks, great name. Back at the wide receiver spot. And then Brant Kuithe, who's a stud and a sure bet to make the NFL if he stays healthy. At the tight end spot, he was out all last season as well. And then 3 of 5 back on the offensive line. NC Nick, this offense is going to be fire.
Yeah, I mean, and not on that screen. I mean, you could even include Jaylon Glover, the other running back, who got almost as many carries as Jaquindon Jackson last year, and he ran for over 500 yards. So Glover has a lot of experience as well. So show me where the weakness is. You know, I mean, obviously, if Rising is healthy, the quarterback position locked up. Running backs, good running backs. The offensive line, they lost a little bit. They had an O lineman drafted by the NFL, and they lost a starter via the portal. So maybe a little bit of a concern there. And I mean, I guess again, they had a wide receiver drafted, but they also, I mean, they definitely identified some targets in the portal, brought in some receivers. So yeah, I think the offense is going to be just fine.
Yeah, and you mentioned Jaquindon Jackson. He's now at Arkansas, but goodbye.
I think they're fine at running back. No worries.
Yeah. Bryson Barnes is at Utah State. Nate Johnson's at Vanderbilt. Mac Howard's at Samford, and McLeod Crawton is at San Jose State. Now I will say that if a quarterback goes down, what Cam Rising's got a history of, that might be a little concerning. Mikey Matthews, their wideout, heads to Cal. Fayau to Texas A&M. He's plan to start at A&M with Mike Elko.
Yeah.
Go check out our A&M preview. That's the offensive lineman NC Nick was alluding to. But buddy, I still think they won the portal because the son of Damon Huard, Sam Huard, who was a 5-star recruit to Washington. Now he was backing up Penix. He bounced to Cal Poly last year, played pretty well. I think this is a nice get. I don't know if he's ready to play right away, but I think it's their quarterback of the future.
Well, I think that's why you're not too concerned about the pig farmer or Nate Johnson and other quarterbacks transferring out, because it wasn't like those backups played all that well last year. So I think you pencil in Horde as the number 2 right away.
And then they go get Anthony Woods from Idaho. And I know Noah knows who that is, but if you subscribe to the FCS College Football Experience, you'll know who that is because he's very good at Idaho. That's a very nice get to stack that backfield. And then Dorian Singer, who had a monster season 2 years ago at Arizona, was at USC last year. Unbelievable get. I think the shoe fits perfectly here. Damian Alford also comes in from Syracuse.
He had over 600 receiving yards last year. Solid receiver.
And then Tayshawn Lyons from Washington, where Washington had all their receivers drafted last year. So you were behind some first round picks. Okay. Doesn't mean you're bad. Also tight end Carson Ryan from UCLA was good. I mean, every single get was key to me. They didn't.
I mean, what they did with the pass catchers, they brought in they brought in a lot of talent. My one concern is that they didn't address the O-line in the portal at all.
Well, you still have 3 of 5 back, man.
Yeah. I think obviously, we can only assume that they didn't feel O-line was a need. To us on paper, it looks like it could be a need. It looks like maybe they should have went after a couple guys in the portal, but at this point you got to trust Whittingham.
I don't trust, a lot of schools when that happens, but like Utah on the line of scrimmage, have they ever been horrible under Whittingham? I don't think so. Even when they're in the Mountain West, I was like, damn, they're a physical team.
Right.
I'm fine. Defensively, this is my favorite thing from last season. So the offense, how many great quarterbacks were in the Pac-12 last year? Let me guess. Michael Penix, top 10 pick. Bo Nix, top 10 pick. Caleb Williams was the first pick of the draft. They played all of those. Interesting. Oh, they played Shedeur Sanders. Oh, well, actually, I think he might have been injured that game, but still, my point is and Noah Fafita, they played every damn good quarterback in the nation last year. Right. And these numbers are remarkable, man. They were 19th in scoring defense per game, 19.3 points per game. This is how they win 8 games. Their offense was dead last in almost every statistical category, or second to last. But their defense is fucking legit. 3rd best in scoring defense a year ago. Also number 13th in yards per game. 2nd place in the Pac-12. Do you know how impressive that is? Because I just want to drive this home a little bit here. Like, they couldn't move the ball on offense, so they would punt because they couldn't throw the forward pass. And their defense was on the field like fucking 60, 70, 80% of the fucking game. And they're still putting up numbers like this.
And I know you'll get to it, but you see 65th in the nation in passing defense. And maybe the average fan might be like, oh, so their secondary was just average. But it's a dumb stat. It's not adjusted. It's definitely not an advanced stat. So I think this year you're going to see that number improve by a lot.
And 4th best rushing defense, but yeah, 65th in the Pac-12 last season. That might have been, and that honestly might have been the best in the history of college football for one conference to have that many good quarterbacks. Cam Ward was the highest paid quarterback transfer on a 5-7 Washington State team. Unbelievable their stats defensively. They returned 7 starters on the defensive side of the ball. They also bring back in special teams their kicker and their punter, and that's another thing I want to hammer with Whittingham. Their special teams is always awesome. Like, they'll always have like kick returns for touchdowns, block punts for touchdowns. I feel like Beamer ball always got the rep and deservingly. But I feel like teams like Kansas State and Utah have been doing this for a long fucking time, man. So pay attention to special teams when you pay attention to Utah.
One other thing to pay attention to is that defensive line. I mean, yes, they lost Jonah Ellis, who's a 3rd round draft pick. Other than that, they have 7 of the top 8 guys back. I know Phil Steele has it as the 3rd best unit in the country. Definitely the best defensive line in the Big 12. So not only do they bring back all that experience and talent, but they also got some guys in the portal absolutely loaded at D-line.
Yeah. And 2 linebackers back, Lander Barton and Kareem Reed. And cornerback Zemiah Vaughn and safety Tal Johnson all back. Oh, man, this defense is going to be fire. Now, I will say this. Are they going to have to adjust a shitty quarterback play?
They're not going to know what to do, huh?
What's crazy is like the Big 12 actually, you could argue, might have the best quarterback still because of Cam Rising and Shedeur Sanders and Noah Fafita. The incoming quarterbacks coming in.
Sure.
And then
Jaylon Daniels and Garrett Green and
Avery Johnson,
Alan Bowman. They got some pretty good quarterbacks.
Yeah. But still, I mean, it's going to be hard to beat last year. It's you can't,
not last year's quarterbacks, but still pretty solid.
The defense is going to be good, man.
No doubt about it. This is one of the best defenses in the country.
And they lost some guys in the portal. Chase Kennedy on the D line, who's a reserve, said, "I'm going to Arizona. I'll see you on the schedule." All right, Whittingham, you're not starting me. I'll see you on the schedule. Justin Medlock, SMU, came in with a big bag of cash, said, "Hey, come play for us." And then Malzaka, he goes to Oklahoma. Darian Stewart to BYU, which is just we here on the college football experience think that's just absolutely crazy. The hell is going on here? They also went out in the portal and addressed. They got a couple guys. First off, my favorite guy they got was John Henry Daly. He didn't want to be confused with John Daly, and he goes, "God damn it, put my middle name on this license. All right, I don't want to be confused." But he's making a mistake because you want to be confused for John Daly.
Well, maybe most people, but if up in Mormon country, they're not big drinkers. I could see why he might add a middle name there.
A lot of people go to college for 7 years.
How about the corners they got? Keaton Johnson from Georgia Tech and Cameron Calhoun from Michigan. And also the safety Gilman from Stanford got a lot of reps too. Paul Fitzgerald also on the defensive line coming over from Utah State. What'd you make of that? What they did in the portal? Do you think they won the portal overall? Offense, defense? Do you think they won? I think they did.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the big loss is probably Jackson, the running back, but they're loaded at running back. They're just fine. And on defense, bringing in these guys, I mean, it's the rich getting richer.
Yeah, I agree. The win total sitting at 9.5 wins, plus 320 to win the Big 12 championship, plus 220 to make the playoff, which is just stupid. Just take the plus 320 to win the Big 12 championship. Right?
I've actually already did that. I already have a ticket for Utah winning the Big 12 champ game.
Plus 6,000 to win the Natty. Let's talk about that. Can you imagine Rice-Eccles Stadium hosting a fucking playoff game? Now, the only problem is if they win the Big 12, you're not going to be hosting.
Right. They could still potentially host in the second round. Oh, no, you can't.
No, they got to change this. They got to get this corporate bullshit out of here.
First 2 rounds.
Yeah.
Because everybody deserves. Why get penalized?
That's going to change.
Bye. Yeah.
Don't you think when Georgia wins the SEC and they see Ohio State, miss out on winning the big, let's just say hypothetically, Oregon wins the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah.
And Ohio State hosts a playoff game in Columbus. And it's like the greatest fucking thing. Everyone's watching. And the whole fucking city makes like 20 kajillion. What did Biden say? Kajillion billion dollars. Right. And Georgia's going to be, and Ohio State will use that then for recruiting. Georgia will sit there and say, what are we doing here? We need to change this.
A buy is pretty nice too, but yeah, I mean that is a lot of money coming into your town if you can host a game. And you're right, the atmosphere is going to be absolutely insane, in whatever 4 universities get to host one.
Yeah, but still, even if let's say Utah goes 11-1 and loses the Big 12 championship, then they're probably they're going to be in, and then they'd be hosting potentially, depending on how everything else shakes out.
Right.
A playoff game.
Fantastic.
Rice-Eccles is amazing, folks.
Oh man.
That's the epitome.
Come on, let's go.
Like, I mean, there's so many college football is so great because there's so many unique places, but like Rice-Eccles is college football
in December too. I mean, you might get some weather. It's going to be cold. It's
perfect.
Fantastic.
You'll get the backdrop with the mountains with snow on them. Yeah. It's going to be fucking incredible. Are you surprised at the 9.5 win total in year 1 in the Big 12?
No, because their schedule is going to be easier this year. And if there's a healthy Cam Rising, there's no reason why they shouldn't win 10 or more.
Yeah.
One other thing, I know we're about to go into the schedule game by game. Since COVID, so not including the COVID season, there's been 3 college football seasons. Utah's lost 1 home game this past year to Oregon. Again, a top 5 Oregon team, and Utah's on their 3rd or 4th quarterback. That's the only home game they've lost.
Yeah.
And not to tip my card, they ain't losing any home games this year.
Oh, not at all. Not at all.
You're telling me, are they going to go 3-3 on the road? I tend to think Utah is good enough to at least go 4-2 on the road, which means you have a 10-win team and you have an overcashing.
Yeah, agreed. Les Austin in the chat says the Pac-2 is the best conference.
Hell yeah. I'm not sure if that applies here.
Go
but,
Beavs, go Beavs. All right. 9.5. Now hold on. Let me explain. I guess I keep jumping to the schedule. Let me explain the juice on this thing, because did you just explain that?
No, but it is minus 145 on the over. So obviously Vegas tends to agree with me, and plus 125 on the under.
Yeah. And he's saying the P2 conferences are the best conferences. Okay.
Oh, Big Ten and SEC, huh?
Yeah, well, just so you know, Kyle Whittingham has a winning record against the SEC, including this guy named Saban.
I mean, I agree with them. I think they are the best 2 conferences this year. But
I know. Well, actually, dude, I'm not sold on the Big Ten being the best conference. Like SEC, yes, Big Ten has a shit ton of dead weight.
They do. They have a lot of bad teams towards the bottom.
So I will not agree with the Big Ten thing. Like,
it's kind of how you define best conference,
Yeah.
though. So I don't know. That's a
SEC 100%. I agree. The Big Ten, they got to prove it to me. Like they could this season. I might watch the Big Ten and say, okay, but there's a lot of fucking dead weight in that conference. There's a reason why they've had the most blowouts, even before adding these teams over the past decade.
Yeah.
Because you have Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, and then you have a bunch of average football teams. Maybe you throw Iowa into the good collection, but then after that, you have a bunch of kind of average to below average. The only reason why they have 6-7 win seasons is because they play each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that one I will push back a little bit on, but 9.5 wins. Yeah, jump on that plus 320 to playoffs. Let's talk about the schedule. Week 1, they're hosting the Thunderbirds, Southern Utah. All right, 1-0.
Great name. I love the Thunderbirds, but 1-0.
Dude, they're like 5 minutes from Zion National Park. I've driven past their stadium. Southern Utah needs to get good fast because it's perfect. It's perfect for the sport. We need to get them. Someone needs to get them going. Utah fans will probably hate that though, but because it will steal from their talent. But week 2, they're home to Baylor. Dave Aranda, you should have got him last year because I actually thought Baylor outplayed Utah last year.
Last year was their chance in Waco. I think they were up most of that game, but Utah scored 2 touchdowns late. I think.
Yeah.
Kind of. Pulled it out of their ass, but they're not going into Salt Lake City winning this. Nope.
I agree. And then they go to Logan, Utah, which I thought this game could be dangerous, but good Lord, I don't know if I can picture a worse offseason for Utah State. So they have their coach fired because of some type of crazy scandal. This past week, Andre Selden, a defensive player who starts for him, dies.
Yeah.
It's just a horrible, horrible offseason for Utah State. Condolences to the family of Andre Selden, but I think Utah's going to beat them now, dude. I feel like Utah State's all over the place, man. I interviewed Nate Dreeling. I like Nate, and I think he's been asked a very tough hand right now. He's 33 years old, man. You know, just a few years ago, he was playing linebacker at Pittsburgh State, and now he's got a.
He might be younger than Cam Rising.
Yeah, he probably is. Now it is a back-to-back away though, and that is a rivalry game.
Well, but that's the first part of the back-to-back away game. So no, I think with everything, and Utah is not the same team on the road as they have been at home. Last few years, still very good on the road, but beatable on the road. But no, they got this 3-0.
I got them 4-0 because I think they win in Stillwater because Mike Gundy's teams in September are always like. September's when you want them on the schedule.
I'm going to give this one to OK State. I think it's going to be a close game, back and forth. I mean, yes, usually that is the way Gundy operates, but that shouldn't be the case this year because they have so much experience coming back.
7-year quarterback battle. Bowman against Rising.
And again, like you said, this is the second half of a tough back-to-back. This is arguably their hardest game on the schedule. So I'll say they dropped this one.
Well, the next week they're home to Arizona. Arizona whooped their ass last year. Good luck, Arizona.
I think they remember that 42-18 ass whooping and want revenge, and they're going to get revenge at home.
I got them 5-0, man. 5-0. They hit the bye week. Great bye week because if you know Kyle Whittingham, Tempe has given him a fit. Tempe, he's 500, and most of that is the past 2 years. Tempe gives him problems. He's 500 against Arizona State, but some of that is them, in Salt Lake City. In Tempe, he has a losing record.
He has won 2 out of the last 3 in Tempe, and pretty decisively too.
Well, that's
34-13.
That's the interim head coach, though, right? The last one, yeah.
That was 2022. So probably
they fired Herm Edwards. They had the interim head coach, but yes.
Right. And then back in 2016, if you want to go that far, they won 49-26 in Tempe. I get it. I mean, it's a tricky place to play and a tricky place to get a W. But yeah, coming after the bye, and we don't know how good Arizona State is going to be this year. They're probably one of the worst teams in the conference. I got Utah.
I got Utah too, but I do think it's a sneaky game. The
I
bye
agree.
week is huge, though. Had they not had the bye week, I actually think I would have been like, dude, they're gonna catch them.
Yeah.
Give me 6-0, man, and then they're home to TCU, 7-0 at Houston. I told you Fritz is gonna get one of these guys. I don't know who the fuck it's gonna be. I mean, I got to take Utah on paper, going game by game.
Yeah.
Man, I gotta
So Utah in back-to-back weeks they host. Houston in back-to-back weeks host Utah and K-State. So I agree. I think they're going to get one of them. But I'm going to say Utah wins.
I got to say Utah wins right now, but I just think Houston by that they're going to be. But in November to late October is when Houston's going to start figuring things out. They get a bye week, and then you got the Holy War. Holy shit! This game, to me, I know you're not as fond as it or on it as me, but I think it's one of the best games in college football. It needs to be played every year. If anything, Brett Yormark, flag on the play. This should be the final game of the season.
Agreed.
You fucking losers. You played on the final game of the season for what, like 150 fucking years. You can't play.
Figure it out.
Yes.
And to be fair, BYU also has a bye going into this also. So you have to note that. I think it's tricky because these games are always crazy. I mean, whenever you have such a great rivalry, anything can happen. But I still don't believe below 500 BYU squad from last year can win this game on the road.
True, but I will say this, and I always get reminded when I say this. They're like, "Well, Utah's won 10 of the last 12 or some shit like that." But I watched all of those.
Yeah. And
let me tell you, and Kalani Sitake, by the way, used to work under Whittingham. They know each other, right? BYU blew a 21-0 lead the last time they played. All right, and we're in field goal range to win that fucking game, and got a holding penalty where they were knocked out of field goal range. So like these games are fucking insane, man. Like I favor Utah. This is the first time they've played in a couple of years because of stupid conference realignment. But I'm taking Utah. I think the bye week there is so monumental.
Yeah. I already told you Utah's not losing at home, so you know I'm on.
Oh no. Talk about Brett Yormark doing Colorado a favor. Putting the Colorado game the week after the Holy War.
It's true. It's tough. Hold on.
I think Colorado's going to upset them because of that.
Okay, and you had them undefeated coming into this, right?
I did, okay. And I think that's just such a. It doesn't matter if it was Colorado, if it was UCF, if it was Houston, if it was Arizona State. This is the first time with that game back on the schedule in a little bit, and.
Well, you better hope the Buffalo Lion play has improved.
True.
We think it will, but will it improve enough to be able to bang with
But
Utah?
Couldn't you see Utah being a little flat because they just played BYU?
Oh, for sure. I mean, situationally speaking, it's a good spot. We did the Colorado preview. I still had Utah winning this. I'm going to stick to that.
They are home to Iowa State and Matt Campbell. That's a win. So I only have them with one loss heading into November 30th. I do have them losing at the bounce house to UCF, but I'll say this, man. I am fascinated by this matchup because Gus Malzahn, who's got a knack, ask Saban, ask anyone that he's got a knack for winning huge games, but he also runs a gimmick ass offense. So I am fascinated by seeing Morgan Scalley and Kyle Whittingham's defense.
Yeah.
Against this, well, the environment is tricky. Like that environment is going to be lit. The moon bounce, we call it. I'm going to say UCF gets them. Now, let me ask you this: is 10-2 good enough if they lose the Big 12 championship to get them to the playoffs?
Well, first off, I agree with you. I think when we just previewed the last week of the regular season, I think we did that last week. We both had UCF winning this game. I just think Utah is going to come into it with just one loss. They're going to have a lot to play for, and it's going to be a tricky spot on Friday night at the bounce house. The place is going to be crazy. I think UCF gets it. So I agree. 10-2, and I guess ultimately they'd be 10-3 if they lose the Big 12 championship game.
Let's say hypothetically here, Kansas State beats them in Arlington. I don't know, 31-28. Kansas State makes a field goal. with 10 seconds left in the game to get the bye. In my opinion, if you're 10-2 and all year, you know, like you've gone through this schedule, you should be in the college football playoffs. Will they put them in?
It's hard to say in a vacuum. You know, first off, I think they would be very deserving of getting in, especially because that other loss was in a conference championship game and not in a regular season.
Yeah.
So
you're better off not showing up to it. Just be like, no, we're not showing up.
What I really don't want to see, and I'm afraid I am going to see it, is you might see like a 3-loss SEC or a 3-loss Big Ten team get in over Utah, or a 2-loss team that has 2 losses in the regular season, which still isn't fair because Utah would only have 1 loss in the regular season.
Yeah. Well, and this goes back to our thing with Les Austin here. Like, shout out to Les Austin in the chat. But like, if it's the SEC 3-loss team, I'm more willing to be like, okay. If it's a Big Ten 3-loss team,
Penn State or something,
I don't believe like the floor is higher in the Big 12, in my opinion. Like the shittier teams in the Big Ten are shittier than the shittier teams in the Big 12, in my opinion. So I think they should not be like the SEC. I actually see the argument, and you could say 8-game schedule, whatever, but I'm like, okay, a 3-loss team in the SEC. There's so many fucking good teams in the SEC. So it's like, I can buy stock in that. Like if you're telling me Minnesota or let's say Rutgers or Minnesota or something, or Nebraska goes 9-3. We've seen Nebraska's schedule. I don't believe it's nearly as challenging as Utah's.
Yeah, if you look at, say, like Texas or LSU schedule, it's harder than Utah's. So I guess there's an argument, but I just think that if you have an 11-1 regular season, if you're in a P4 conference, you deserve to be in this playoffs. And I hope the committee values the Big 12 and the ACC. But I'm afraid that, we saw it last year with Florida State. Circumstances different, but I'm afraid they're not going to value, and they're just going to load up these 12 teams with Notre Dame and a bunch of Big Ten and SEC teams. Some deserving, some maybe not so much.
Yeah. Now here's the good news for Utah fans. I think you can win the Big 12 championship because you're in that championship game. And to me, I don't even know that you're playing Kansas State. I think the tiebreaker is going to be fucking insane. Like we lean Kansas State. I think if we did our win total thing, or
they're the 2 favorites in Vegas for a reason.
But like, to me, I don't like, we've never seen Avery Johnson start a whole season. So like, there's more question marks with K-State than there is Utah. Like I think Utah's in the Big 12 championship game, providing Cam Rising stays healthy. Right.
Yeah.
I don't know who the fuck they're playing. Honestly, could be Baylor, could be Kansas, could be Kansas State, could be maybe Colorado, could Oklahoma State, could be
a rematch with UCF.
Yeah, honestly, I actually like UCF as my sleeper in this conference.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just think, I think you'll be fine. I think you're probably going to be a playoff team. So that's why going back to the Big 12 championship odds there, to win the Big 12 championship plus 320. I think that's the one you want to jump on.
Yep.
Over. Damn it. How many overs am I on in this damn conference now?
What did we do with K-State? I thought it went under.
Yeah, I think I went under too. So I went under on K-State and I went under on Arizona State and Arizona. Okay. So I got 3. Okay. I'm feeling better.
Not too bad.
All right. I was about to say, Mike, am I going over on every damn team in the Big 12? Dude, I think they're going to go 10-2 or 11-1. They could go 12-0, man. Like what games are they flat out going to be dogs in? What if UCF's fucking like we're basing a lot of this on KJ Jefferson,
right?
What if they're 6-6? Then Utah's favored by 7 points there in Orlando.
I mean, that's why you compare it to last year's schedule, and it's so much easier. So, is there a scenario where they're undefeated, 12-0? Sure.
This college football season, this 12-team playoff, and I want more because I hate the subjectivity of it.
Yeah.
And I also think that really good teams are going to get left out.
Yeah. It's still 12 of 134.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you could definitely bump that up to 16.
Yeah, I've made my case on like I think Texas is better than the way I've gone through and handicapped every game based on what I think is going to happen, and I have Texas losing to Texas A&M like the final week. Both teams having 3 losses, but because A&M has the head-to-head, they go to the playoffs. Texas doesn't, and you're like, Texas schedule is like 5 times harder than A&M's. Right? You got to play at Michigan. You got to play the Red River Shootout. You got to play. You're hosting Georgia. You got to go to College Station. It's just way harder. So like, I fully expect them to expand this thing right away. More money on the table. Players are being paid now, so you can't give me this player safety bullshit. And that will then lead to a bigger playoff, because it's what should happen, man. The fact that Utah could go 10-2 and not make the playoff would be fucking disgusting.
You're making a lot of sense. Dundee for commish.
There we go. Let's go. Utah on the over. NC Nick is on the over. I'm on the over. Give NC Nick a follow on Twitter at NC__NICK. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. The College Football Experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. Subscribe on YouTube. I highly recommend watching the show with these sweet graphics. I did the Washington State preview yesterday, and I put their fucking I put their basketball coach as the head coach of the football team. Might have been having a cocktail or two while I was building the graphics on that Washington State preview.
You know, a newborn there. You're sleep deprived. Come on.
Well, I just wanted to give Kyle Smith some love, even though he left for Stanford. But still, check out the graphics. 95% of the time they're right. And yeah, folks, check out the Stadium Heads podcast. If you love Utah football and Rice-Eccles Stadium, maybe you're not even a Utah fan, but you appreciate Rice-Eccles Stadium, you're going to want to check out the Stadium Heads podcast, myself and College Football Campus Tour, aka Michael Barker. We talk college football, the history of their stadiums, and why college football is the greatest thing ever. A lot of people don't know that college football invented the sport of football. Yes. And a lot of those stadiums are intact today, which I think is so cool. You see the NFL destroy their stadiums after like 20 fucking years, with the exception of Lambeau and Soldier, and Soldier's coming. But part of what makes college football great to me is like the history of the game, and the fact that, you know, we just did the Kansas preview earlier tonight. When Jaylon Daniels scores a touchdown at Memorial Stadium in Kansas, or I'm sorry, in Illinois this year, that's the same fucking place that, Red Grange scored a touchdown. You know what I mean? And it's phenomenal. I think that college football protects its history. I think it's part of why the sport is so great, is because it's still got its soul intact. As much as TV execs want to come and put Rutgers and USC in the same conference, it's all there for you. All right. Check out the Stadium Heads podcast. We do a deep dive on that. Rice-Eccles is one of the best stadiums in college football. Check it out. If you get a chance to go to the game, if you're not even from Utah, get a chance, fly out to Salt Lake City for a weekend, go to a game. It's everything right with college sports, in my opinion. Also check out the FCS College Football Experience. You might want to talk about the Thunderbirds. You might want to know about those Thunderbirds. NC Nick was a little scared on his win total when he saw the Thunderbirds were on the schedule. All right. So check out the FCS College Football Experience. Check out the College Basketball Experience. We go live every night of the season. And we're already doing coaching interviews in the off season. Craig Smith doing a good job at Utah. I think they might have a big season upon themselves as they enter Big 12 play. Also check out the College Baseball Experience and check out the Sports Gambling Podcast. Till next time, folks, this is the Utah Utes 2024 season preview episode. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.